What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Just drank some coffee, reading up on boxing, responding to some people. I was listening to Cameron. I'm Hulk Hogan, Randy Sapp, killer. Yeah, I don't know. I like Cameron. I don't know about you guys, but I like Cameron. At least his old stuff. The problem is, you could stab at me, shoot at me. This the remix, no homo, suck a dick. Anyway, I want to talk about Lucas Matthysse. Lucas is a hell of a fighter. He's an entertaining fighter. He brings it. This man has a granite chin. Danny Garcia became known as the Argentine killer, and they had a good fight. It was a good fight between the two of them. A lot of people are counting Lucas Matthysse out. I don't think that's necessarily wise. Lucas Matthysse, he is early 30s, which in boxing, boxers age like in dog years because just training camps, wear and tear in your body, taking shots, taking blows. It definitely ages you more so than somebody who works like at a fucking shooting range or something and doesn't really take much punishment. So Lucas Matthysse, here's my thing with Lucas Matthysse. I think he definitely could bounce back. He's still early 30s. It's really going to be dependent on him. They're trying to get him a target date for March or April, so a springtime fight, get him back in the mix. There's plenty of fights out there for him. I think mostly it's going to rely on how he shows up. Will he show up kind of like Pacquiao did? Pacquiao had a crushing loss at the hands of Marquez in the fourth fight, and he bounced right back against Brandon Rios. So if he can have that type of confidence, and he didn't lose much in the Danny Garcia fight, just being humiliated or being embarrassed or whatever. And the reason I say humiliated, not that it was the worst loss possible, he didn't get knocked out, anything like that, but he had been striving for a title shot, and he finally got one, and he came up short. So for the fighter himself, who was begging for that moment, and they got it, and then you've seen what happened, that could be humiliating, just during self-reflection when the fighter's like looking at it in the mirror, looking at themselves. So I think Lucas Matthysse can bounce back. He definitely has the equalizer, which is the punching power. Mentally, I want to see where he's at. If he's the strong mental person that he's always been, I think he'll be fine. There's other fights that could be made. Adrian Broner just lost to Marcos Maidana. Maybe he can vindicate himself with a win over Lucas Matthysse if he can beat Lucas Matthysse. That would be a good fight at 140. 147 might be a little bit too much for Adrian Broner, at least at the moment. His body's still maturing. One thing I will say about Broner, in this fight with Marcos Maidana, some of you guys are really skewed. Like, you see a fight where someone takes punishment and goes the distance, and then you say that fighter has no chin. Like, I don't know if some of you guys understand the meaning of glass chin or glass jaw. Getting hurt, that's human. I mean, these motherfuckers are human. They're not vampires and zombies and shit. Of course, if someone has cracks, they're going to get hurt. It's how you deal with that shot, and it's who can hurt you. So for Broner, in his defense, and I know I haven't really defended him much lately, I will say this. I don't see how people are saying he has a glass jaw when he went in against a known puncher, and he's really out of his element. We haven't seen him do anything marvelous at 147. He didn't even look marvelous against Paulie Malignaggi. So that was only his second fight at welterweight. So in his defense, I wouldn't say he has a glass chin. That doesn't really make sense. How does he have a glass chin when he went in against a feared puncher? Now, if Paulie Malignaggi did what Maidana did, then that might be a different discussion. But I don't understand some of these boxing fans who watch these fights and they're like, oh, Timothy Bradley has no chin because Ruslan was hurting him. Ruslan is a fucking power puncher. If he gets to you, then that's what he does. He's destructive. He has heavy hands. So I never understood that. A little bit off topic, but I never understood that how when someone gets hurt by a vicious puncher, some of the fans are so like fickle or dumb to the sport where they'll say this person has no jaw. People like Amir Khan, he gets shit because it seems like anybody can hurt him. He's susceptible to many different shots, from Danny Garcia to Julio Diaz to Bradis Prescott. Now, Some of those people are power punchers, but it just, the way he takes his shots, he's been hurt often. For Broner, at least, in his sake, in his defense, I don't recall a time where Broner was hurt in the DeMarco fight or where he was hurt in this fight and this fight and this fight. He went up, bit off more than he could chew against Maidana, and he was hurt against a power puncher. That's cool, but that doesn't mean someone has a glass jaw. As far as Mir Khan, I've seen him hurt several times from Marcos Maidana, Julio Diaz, Bradis Prescott, Danny Garcia, etc. So that's the difference. I just had to throw that out there. But as far as Lucas Matthysse, again, there's fights that he can fight that I think would be good. I just did an interview with Hammer and Hank Lundy, and he called him out. Hammer and Hank Lundy said he wants some of that action. So I would love to see that fight. I would love to see him, Matthysse Mayfield, if Kareem Mayfield wants to mix it up with Matthysse, get Matthysse back in the winner's circle. And I think he could do damage. A lot of it's going to be how he is mentally, how he mentally responds. Another thing is, when you take a loss like Broner or even the Matthysse loss, when you take those types of losses and you were previously undefeated or hadn't, like, I consider Lucas undefeated because he was never stopped, and the loss against Zab Judah is controversial. So when you are finally, your dreams are shattered and you lose, you take that L in that type of fashion, like Danny Garcia did against Lucas Matthysse, fucked his eye up, or Adrian Broner, how Marcos Maidana just put them pause on him. It brings the reality that even though people know you're human, it brings it back into full circle. That aura surrounding you, as far as being invincible or unstoppable, sometimes that goes away too. People feel like, oh shit, this dude's ripe for the picking. Like Amir Khan was on a hell of a win streak. He had definitely rebuilt since the Bradis Prescott. He had wins over Barrera, wins over Maidana. He had wins over Malignaggi, wins over a lot of people. And then after Lamont Peterson, we've seen some flaws in his game. Like, oh, he's not necessarily the greatest inside fighter. And then in the Danny Garcia fight, he knocked him out. So ever since then, people consider him to be exposed. Like, oh, he's exposed. Between those two fights, Peterson and Garcia, we know how to beat him. We're going to come for his head and headhunt and etc. Fight him on the inside. So I'm anxious to see how people treat Lucas Matthysse. If they're going to be respectable, or less respectful, I guess you could say, than they perhaps were before the Danny Garcia fight. So Lucas Matthysse, hell of a fighter, exciting fighter, true warrior. Argentina produces some of the grittiest, toughest fucking warriors with chin and power. From Martinez down to Matthysse to Maidana, Abu Ghraib. Just a lot of true warriors out there in Argentina. So props to them. Anxious to see Lucas Matthysse, how he's looking, who they pit him against, and where he's at. But with that type of power, unless he lost something big in the Danny Garcia fight, I think he's still going to be a problem. Matthysse was the fighter who was pretty avoided in the 140-pound division, and he was taking on challenges that other people didn't want to necessarily fight. People like Ajose, when Ajose was undefeated. Just fights that no one else wanted. Humberto Soto is a veteran. So let me know what you guys think of Lucas Matthysse. Can he come back? Will he come back? Leave a comment. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.